Hello students, welcome to lesson 16, the computation of slope of a non-vertical line. So we are going to use the slope formula to compute the slope of a non-vertical line. That is a line that is not straight up and down. Vertical means straight up and down. We're going to do everything that isn't straight up and down has a slope. All right, we will use similar triangles to explain why the slope M is the same between any two distinct points on this non-vertical line in a coordinate plane. All right, so let's start with our slope formula. Slope is a ratio of the change in y values and the change in x values. So how do you find the change in something? You find the difference between them. You subtract them. So we're going to take the ratio of the y over the x. So we're going to subtract the y values and subtract the x values. All right. So let's take a look at our 2 points here. We have point A, which is 3, 2, and point B, which is 1, 1. So to find the points, we start at 0. We go over 3 and up 2. So A is 3, 2. That means that's our x, our first x value, and our first y value. So we call that x1, y1. B is 1, 1. So over 1 and up 1. That's our second x value and our second y value. Okay. So we just need to find the difference between these 2 points. So I'm going to subtract the y values and make a ratio of the difference between the y and the x values. So B is 2 and B is 1 and A is 2. So I'm going to do 1 minus 2 over 1 minus 3. 1 minus 2 is negative 1 and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And when you have a negative over a negative, the negatives kind of cancel out. So we have a slope of 1 over 2. Now, as long as you subtract in the same order and follow the rules of subtraction, you will always get the same answer. So I could have done this backwards. I could have said this is x1 and y1 and this is x2 and y2. And it would have just flipped this around. So instead of 1 minus 2, would have been 2 minus 1. And instead of 1 minus 3, it would have been 3 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. And I know what you're saying. Mr. Murphy, that was much easier. I didn't have these negatives to complicate things. Yes, you're right. That's why we need to know our rules of subtraction, because you won't always do them the easy way. Though if you think ahead, you could choose to do them the easy way if you wanted to. All right? All right. So let's see why. What does triangles have to do with this? Well, every time we do these slopes, we're making a little triangle, right? So if I want a slope between this point and this point, I'm going to count up 1, 2, and over 1. So this is a slope of 2 over 1, right? And I've got the little triangle, and here's my slope. Here I've got another triangle, and I've got the same slope. I'm going 2 over 1. And this third one is 2 over 1. So if all 3 of these triangles are right in a row, and each side of the triangle here has the same slope of 2 over 1, then this big triangle should have the same slope. So what is the slope of this big triangle from here to here? I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I go over 1, 2, 3. So that has a slope of 6 over 3. And you're thinking, well, that's not 2 over 1, Mr. Murphy. But if I reduce by dividing by 3 over 3, then I end up with 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. I end up with the same slope. So triangles, these are similar triangles. And I'll show you what it means to be a similar triangle. Here I've got the little triangle. and I've got the big triangle. So these triangles both share this angle. This angle is the same for the little triangle and the big angle. The little triangle has a right angle here, and I know it's right because this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, and they meet at a right angle. This also is a right angle for the same reason, x and y-axis. So of these two triangles, the little one and the big one, two of the angles are the same. Well, if two of the angles are the same, then the third angle also has to be the same. And that's because all triangles have the same, the angles in all triangles all add up to 180 degrees. So if I subtract this triangle, this angle, let's say it's 60, and I subtract this angle, let's say it's 90, so I got 180 minus 60 minus 90 gives me 30. This last one has to be 30. If I did that with the big triangle, started with 180, I subtract this because it's the same. I subtract this, it's 90. Then I equal 30. This last triangle is 30. So the angles are all exactly the same. That means the angle of this line is exactly the same. That's what similar triangles mean. The angles of all the stuff are exactly the same. It's just the lengths of the line are a little bit different. Okay. So what does that mean if I have a big line like this? It means I can pick any 2 points on this line and find the difference between those 2 points. And that will give me the slope. Now, why do you think I'm choosing these points? Well, I know this point is 1, goes over 1, but I don't know how big it is, so I don't know what that second number is. But this one, I go over 2 and up 1. I know it's 2, 1 because it's on this cross hatch part. And this is 5, 3. And this one is going to be 8, 5. And this one is going to be 11, 7. Now I can pick any of these 2 points and put it into my slope formula, find the difference between the two y values, and make it in a ratio over the difference between the two x values, and it should be the same. So I'm just going to start with a and b, and I'm going to say 3 minus 1. And 5 minus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. So this has a slope of 2/3. I'm going to pick another 2 points. Let's pick C and D. And what's the slope of this line? Well, that would be 7 minus 5 over 11 minus 8. And that gives me 2 over 3. So this is 2 over 3. And on any 2 points that I find in this line, if I subtract those 2 points, I will still get a slope of 2 over 3. I could do C and B. I can do A and D. I could do B and D. It doesn't matter. I will always get the same slope. I just may need to simplify it or reduce it a little bit. All right. So what have we learned in lesson 6? Let's take a look. A slope is a ratio between the difference between y values and x values of any 2 points. That just says if I take the y values and subtract them and the x values and subtract them, the ratio will be the slope, which I call m.